already prepared the slide, so we can do it fast. So torque we did, like if you place a bar magnet in a uniform magnetic field, the torque is M cross B, the net force on the dipole is 0. Next, what you can do is, like you take a uniform electric field and you place an electric dipole into it. If you want to rotate this dipole in the electric field, then you will be doing some external work. The work done will be minus of PE cos theta 2 minus cos theta 1. This is work done by the external torque, and this is the change in potential energy. Similar thing you can do for a bar magnet. If you placed a bar magnet in a magnetic field and you want to rotate it from an angle theta 1 to the angle theta 2, then the work done by the external torque would be minus of MB cos theta 2 minus cos theta 1. And this is your change in potential energy minus MB cos theta 2 minus cos theta 1. And if you place this at some angle theta, then potential energy is minus of P cos theta, and that you can write this as minus of P dot E. For bar magnet, you can write this as minus of MB cos theta, it's minus of M dot P now. Okay, just note it down. Noor, what subject combinations you have? You have PCM or PCB?
I have PCM.
And Noor? PCB.
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 Yes.
You don't have maths.
No, sir.
Which one is your fourth subject?
Computer science.
Computer science. Are you giving test on the test series, revision test series?
So I gave the test for drift velocity. After that, I didn't give any test.
I'm not asking about those tests. I'm asking the Sunday test, Sunday the revision test series. No.
So that 3 hours test?
Yes.
Yes, sir. I'm going to start them after this models only.
Okay.
I'll attempt one on Sunday, I guess.
Sure.
Done, sir.
Okay. Next question. Say you have this thing. You have two bar magnets which are placed perpendicular to each other. You're supposed to calculate magnetic field over this point. So to get magnetic field, so you can see for this first bar magnet, where is the point? This point lies on the axial line or on the equatorial line?
Axial line.
Axial line. And for this bar magnet, where is this point, on the axial or on the equatorial?
Equatorial line.
Equatorial line. So for the first bar magnet, this field is on the axial line. For the second bar magnet, the field is on the equatorial line. For axial line, the direction of field is same as that of dipole moment. For equatorial line, the direction of field is opposite to that of dipole. The direction of dipole moment is downwards, the direction of field would be upwards. So you're supposed to get the value of field at P. So the field at P is, you will just try to get the value of field at P. Do it. No need to write your answer in chat room, just tell me the answer.
So what do we have to find?
Net field at P, magnetic field at P. So you have two magnets that are placed perpendicular to each other. You need to calculate the magnetic field at P.
Sir, you mute.
Yes, Noor. Yes, is it finished?
Yes, sir.
So what's your answer, Noor, for magnetic field at P? See, for magnetic field at P, what we can do is first, for the first bar magnet, calculate B1. For axial line, this is the formula, right? Magnetic moment is along x-axis, so it's M is mi cap. So this is mu naught by 4 pi 2 mi cap by r cube. For the second bar magnet, this point lies on equatorial line. So the expression is this mu naught by 4 pi minus m by r cube. And what is magnetic moment here? See, the direction of magnetic moment is downwards. So magnetic moment is m into minus j cap. Instead of m, just substitute minus m j cap. So this is it. For net magnetic field, just add them B1 plus B2. When you add them up, it's mu naught by 4 pi m by r cube 2 I cap plus j cap. This is the net magnetic field on the at point P due to this system of two dipoles. Noted down.
We won't use parallelogram law.
Well, that's your choice. You can do it either in the Cartesian form or you can use parallelogram law root over b1 square plus b2 square.
Yes.
Right? What you will do will depend upon the options. If your options are in polar form, then you will use parallelogram law. But if your options are in the terms of I cap and j cap, then using this. Is it clear? Both?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so now m is equal to m minus j cap.
Yeah. See, the direction of magnetic movement is from south to north.
Yes, sir.
It's in downwards direction.
Yes, sir.
So you should use minus of j cap to express this in vector form.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And there's already a minus sign in the expression of field on the equatorial line. So instead of this m,
Yes.
right, minus of j cap. Okay. See the next question. This was in electrostat also. Show that the motion for bar magnet or compass needle in uniform magnetic field is SHM and just calculate its time period frequency. We know that if you place a bar magnet at an angle theta with a magnetic field, then a torque will act on the dipole. This torque will try to align this dipole in the direction of field. We write that torque is minus of mb sine theta. I'm using this negative sign just to the fact that this torque is restored. So what happened? Noor, can you explain why this bar magnet should oscillate? If I put this bar magnet in the magnetic field, it's keep on oscillating about the direction of magnetic field. Why it would oscillate? Yes, sir.
Try to bring magnet towards the direction of magnetic field.
Yes, the torque will try to align it in the direction of magnetic field, right? So if we start from the initial position, like when bar magnet is parallel to magnetic field, there is no torque acting on the bar magnet. This is an equilibrium. When you disturb it, some torque will start acting over it. And due to this torque, the torque will try to align the dipole back to its equilibrium position. But it will overshoot its equilibrium. It will come to this position. Again, the torque start acting and this torque will try to bring this dipole back to its equilibrium position. Just keep on oscillating about its position. Now we have to prove that this particular oscillation is SHM. So we take a small oscillation where sine theta is equal to theta. That's the condition for a small oscillation. Then you can write instead of sine theta, you can write is equal to theta. So the torque is minus of mb theta, or you can say torque is equal to minus of k theta. If you compare these two equations, instead of k, you are using mb. So write k is equal to mb. So once you can write this equation, I'm going fast because this is this same question you're doing for the second time. First time you did this question electrostat. So tau is equal to minus of mb theta. This mb is k. So this k is equal to mb. Abdullah, do you remember? when we did this in chapter number 1, instead of MB, what was the value of K?
PE.
P. So this shows that the motion is SHM. Then you can calculate the angular frequency of the SHM, which is root over K by I. Your K is MB by I. So you get omega. Once you have omega, you can get the value of time period. Note it down. That's the important question. Right. Same repetition of electrostat.
Sir, this question will come in MCQ type.
Yeah, it can get, because you can get this question. 3 types of MCQs you can get on this question. The first one is what type of motion this dipole have in a uniform magnetic field. It's the SHM. Second is on the time period. Third on the frequency.
Yes. Answer the question.
Yes, written.
I stands for
Which one? I stands for moment of inertia.
I.
Moment of inertia. It's rotation, na? So it's angular SHM. See few more questions. Okay, do you remember when a bar magnet is in equilibrium? Yes, when a bar magnet is in stable equilibrium and when a bar magnet is in unstable equilibrium, Abdullah.
Sir, when theta is 0.
Theta is 0. So if magnetic moment and magnetic field are parallel, then your bar magnet is in stable equilibrium. And when they are anti-parallel, then this is in unstable equilibrium. So this is the question. This is example number 5.5.
Scroll up a bit. Last time period is left.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So this is NCRT question.
That's an NCRT. See. So you have this P, this is one bar magnet, and this Q is second bar magnet. This Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5, Q6 are various positions of this bar magnet. So it's asking in which configuration, for which case the equilibrium of Q is stable, for which case is unstable, for which case this Q is not in equilibrium. So for stable or unstable equilibrium, first of all, you have to decide who is generating magnetic field here. So Noor, who is generating magnetic field here?
External source.
P. You have two magnets, P is generating magnetic field, okay? P is the source of magnetic field. Now, Noor, tell me, this is P and this is Q4. This is P and this is Q4. So what is the direction of magnetic field here due to P? Where this Q lies for P, axial line, equatorial line, where it will lie? Where, Noor?
Axial line.
Axial line. So an axial line, what is the direction of magnetic field?
Axial line.
Yeah. Q,
Same as
Q4,
that of magnetic.
same as that of magnetic field. So at this point, magnetic field is upwards and magnetic movement of Q4 is downwards. Abdullah, is this stable or unstable equilibrium?
Yes, sir.
In this case, is it the case of stable equilibrium or unstable equilibrium?
The magnetic field is outwards and dipole is inwards.
Magnetic field is upwards and dipole moment is downwards.
So magnetic field due to the
Stable or unstable, Abdullah?
Sir, unstable. Theta will-
Unstable. Noor, you were asking something?
yes, sir, the magnetic field due to the Q4 is downwards.
But we don't need magnetic field due to Q. Basically, we need potential energy of Q. So potential energy of Q cannot be due to its own magnetic field. This
It will be
potential
due to
energy
the-
of Q will be due to P only.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so this here also, this B is upwards. Huh? This is also an axial line. So what is this sixth position? Stable, unstable, no?
It will be stable, sir.
Stable position. Very good.
That will be
And similarly, you can, what about this QT? Q2. This is for dipole where this point lies, axial line or equatorial line?
equatorial.
Equatorial line. So magnetic field
equatorial
would be
line.
downwards. Is it the case of equilibrium? This Q2? Is this Q2 the case of equilibrium?
No, sir.
Why not?
Because theta will be 90 and
Theta is 90 degree. It will be perpendicular. Maximum torque. Right? It's not equilibrium. Similarly, you can check equilibrium of all cases. Stable equilibrium means points where B and Q are parallel. Unstable means where they are anti-parallel. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
No need to write this question. Just write the example number 5.5. You can check from NCERT. Then there are few questions in bar magnet which are related to the cutting of bar magnet. We'll ask you to cut a bar magnet in these two ways, and we'll ask you to calculate the magnetic moment. So this is a bar magnet. This is south pole. This is north pole. The length is L. The magnetic moment of a pole is M. So the magnetic moment is M into L only. This is the initial magnetic moment of the bar magnet. Next, what we did is we just break this bar magnet into two parts from the center. So if you're not cutting the ends, then this magnetic pole strength M will not change. Magnetic pole strength will remain same. But since you are dividing it into two parts, its length will become half, its magnetic moment will become half. See, the magnetic moment will be MLT by ML by 2. And here magnetic moment is ML. So if you compare it from first equation, it becomes half exactly. So magnetic moment is M by 2. Clear?
Yes, sir.
But if you consider the second part, see the second part is cutting this bar magnet parallel to its length. So this pole basically gets divided into two parts. This pole gets divided into two parts. M by 2, M by 2. So you have two bar magnets. One pole strength M by 2, another will have pole strength M by 2 also. So magnetic moment will be M by 2L. Again, the length is same, but the pole strength is getting half. So magnetic moment will become half. Remember, these two are important questions. If we cut it perpendicular to the length, then pole strength is not changing, but length is changing. So magnetic moment will become half. If it is he's cutting it parallel to the length, then pole strength will become half, the length will not change. And again, your magnetic moment will become half. Just note it down.
Sir, you are muted.
Yes, Abdullah.
Yes, I do.
Written?
Yes, sir.
See next, Bohr magneton. See what is Bohr magneton. Before Bohr magneton, just tell me some basic physics. Noor, have you heard about magnetic quantum number in chemistry? Noor. Noor, you remember magnetic quantum number? Okay, no. Abdullah,
Yes, sir.
yes, what was magnetic quantum number?
Sir, I don't remember.
Magnetic quantum number basically represents the magnetic moment of a revolving electron. See, you have calculated the magnetic moment of a current carrying coil, right? What does magnetic moment tell? Magnetic moment tells that every source of magnetic field is a dipole. It have a north pole and a south pole, and that magnetic moment of north pole and south pole is written as M. So
Yes, sir.
instead of a current carrying coil, if you have a, let's say, atom, in an atom, electron revolve around the nucleus. Is there any current due to the motion of electron, Abdullah? Let's say electron is revolving clockwise. Is there any current associated with the motion of electron?
Yes, sir.
In which direction there would be current?
And rotating clockwise,
Anti-clockwise.
anti-clockwise.
Okay. So that's so if there is current, if there is motion of electron, then you will have current. This current, the direction of current is opposite to that of motion of electron. So T is the time period of revolution of electron. Next, first of all, you have to calculate the value of current. So current is simply charge upon time, where T is the time period. Next, we have to calculate this time period in terms of speed. Abdullah, so if this charge particle electron is revolving with a velocity v, how much is the distance covered by the electron in one complete revolution?
2 pi r.
And the time taken is t. Can you write v in terms of 2 pi r and t?
Time period is
Distance by time.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen for this.
So we can get the value of t from here, right? It's 2 pi r by v.
Yes, sir.
You can substitute t from 2 to 1, right?
Yes, sir.
So when I substitute this thing over here, see, I get the value of current now. What should be the value of current if I substitute it over here?
Sir, it will be EV by 2 pi r.
It's EV by 2 pi r. Next, I need magnetic moment. We know, so this current carrying electron will basically behave like a loose current carrying. This electron, revolving electron, will behave like a current carrying. Yeah, and this is the current. Next, I need magnetic moment. I represent it by mu. So it's current into area. So it's I into pi r square. EV by 2 pi r into pi r square. So it's cancelled out. You get EVR by 2. Note it down, Abdullah.
Yes. There is Bohr's magneton.
Bohr's magneton. Yes. Scroll it. Abdullah, can I scroll it?
Yes, sir. Just little up, sir. I
Yeah.
is equals to E by 2. Okay, sir. Can you scroll down? A little more. Is it done till you?
Done?
Till you are done.
Okay, Noor, you just have missed this thing, huh? Noor, you did this question? No.
Yes, sir, I completed that.
You completed this question?
Yes, sir.
Then you have missed this bar magneton. So bar magneton is basically the magnetic moment of a revolving electron. So you have an electron, it's revolving around the nucleus. Due to the motion of electron, there is some current associated with it. So this revolving electron will behave like a coil, current carrying coil. And that current carrying coil will have a magnetic moment of its own. So I'm just calculating the magnetic moment associated with the revolving electron. So what I did is I first calculate current, which is charged by the time period. Then I try to convert this time period in terms of velocity. Velocity is distance by time. So in one revolution, the distance is 2 pi r. So you can get the value of t, which is 2 pi r by v. And you can substitute this t here. So you get ev by 2 pi r. Then you can get, so area, pi r square is the area of the loop. You can get the magnetic moment, mu is current into area, I into pi r square. So it's ev by 2 pi r into pi r square. So pi gets cancelled with the pi. So you have EVR by 2. That's the magnetic moment of the revolving electron. So no, just note it down just faster. Now, Abdullah, do one thing. Try to convert this in terms of angular momentum. Try to introduce angular momentum here. Angular momentum is MVR.
In the final formula?
Yeah, in EVR by 2 that you get. Try to introduce angular momentum. Angular momentum is MVR. If a particle MVR is.
Can you write it down?
So the direction of current will be opposite to that of the electron, right?
Yeah, so electron is a negatively charged particle. Yes, Abdullah, it's MVR. Mass into velocity into radius of path.
So what was the symbol for angular momentum? It was omega or
L.
L.
Small l. Written, Noor?
Yes, sir. Could you scroll down? Yes, sir. More down.
Good, Abdullah. Good.
So why we are doing current into area?
I mean, basically calculating the magnetic moment. Remember, if you have a current carrying coil, the magnetic moment is NIA.
Yes, sir.
So this is what we are doing. Current into area. Its current is EV by 2 pi r into pi r. So we'll keep basically calculating the magnetic moment associated with the revolving electron. Shazada, you're very late.
Yes, sir.
You're very late. Class was from 8:30.
Sir, this
Sorry.
my laptop was not working.
Okay. And Shazada, you're not coming in revision classes.
Yes, sir. Exams are going on. That's it. One I joined.
Yes, you were there in the first class only, no?
Yes,
At least join those classes from Thursday and Friday. Huh? You have your physics exams on Saturday, no?
sir. After exams, I'll join.
After
From
exams.
Monday it will finish.
Okay. So Shazada, we are just finishing this natural magnetism. Huh? Just wait for 5-10 minutes, then we'll start a fresh topic, earth magnetism.
Okay, sir.
So the next thing is you can convert this magnetic moment in terms of angular momentum. You know that angular momentum of the electron is of any particle revolving in a circle of radius r is mpr. So what we did is we calculated, instead of vr we can write l by m. So instead of this v by r vr, I write l by m, so it becomes el by 2. So this is the magnetic moment associated with a revolving electron, L. So mu is the magnetic moment, L is the angular momentum. That's the relation between them. Now the direction of magnetic moment and angular momentum are opposite. Current is in opposite direction, so magnetic moment would be outwards, but your angular momentum would be inwards. So that's why I'm using a negative sign here. The next term is gyromagnetic ratio. Gyromagnetic ratio is basically the ratio of the magnetic moment associated with the revolving electron and its angular momentum. So magnetic moment is mu, angular momentum is L, so it's mu by L, which is E by 2m. It's 8.8 into 10 raised power 10 coulomb per kg. This is it. This is gyromagnetic ratio. After gyromagnetic ratio, we have to introduce the Bohr's quantization condition in it. So for using Bohr's postulate for quantization of angular momentum, I can write this. Yes, Abdullah?
That is 10 to the power 10 coulomb per
Kg.
kg. Okay.
Per kg. Per kg. Okay, do one thing. Note it down up to here. Then we will introduce the quantization condition.
I'm done, sir.
So gyromagnetic ratio is simply the ratio of magnetic moment of electron and its angular momentum. It's E by 2m where E is electronic charge and m is electronic mass. When you solve it, it comes out to be 8.8 into 10 raised power 10 coulomb per kg. Okay, the next is this is the angular momentum of electron. But this angular momentum of electrons can be calculated using Bohr's model. Bohr's atomic model of atomic structure. So Bohr gave some postulates. One of that postulate was if electron is revolving in some orbit, and that orbit, the angular momentum of electron should be quantized. The angular momentum should have fixed values. So you can say that angular momentum is integral multiple of h by 2 pi. So instead of this L, I can substitute this nh by 2 pi. So it will be E by 2m into nh by 2 pi. So this is NEH by 4 pi. If you look at this final expression, what is n? N is number of orbit. You know, for K shell, n is 1, for L, n would be 2, m, n would be 3 and all. So that's the shell, the number of orbit. E is electronic charge, H is Planck constant, 4 constant, pi constant, m is electronic mass. So this shows that this magnetic moment, this particular magnetic moment is quantized. Quantization means constant, fixed value multiplied by some constant. Now see, what is Bohr magneton? Bohr magneton, see, the value of n will vary from 1 to infinity. The minimum value of magnetic moment will be corresponding to the minimum value of n, which is 1. When you put n equal to 1 here, the magnetic moment that you got is known as Bohr magneton. So the minimum moment, magnetic moment, which is associated with a revolving electron, is Bohr magneton. If you put the value of E, H, 4 pi and m here, it comes out to be 9.27 into 10 raised to power minus 24 ampere meter square. This is the value of Bohr magneton. Minimum magnetic moment associated with a revolving electron is Bohr magneton. Okay, now write it. So that was about natural magnetism. There is one more derivation in it, that is show that solenoid behaves like an equivalent bar magnet, but that's just a derivation that can't be asked in objective questions. So I'm not discussing that here. See, bar magnet and solenoid are equivalent. They have same sort of magnetic field lines. There is various methods to show that bar magnet behaves like a solenoid or solenoid behaves like a bar magnet. But that's just a derivation that can't be asked in your objective exam. So I'm not discussing it.
So 10 to the power minus 24 ampere meter square.
Yes, ampere meter square. It's magnetic moment, right? It's current into area. Abdullah, your revision will start once I'm finished with this thing. Just a very small earth magnetism is left. Once I'm finished with earth magnetism, then your revision will start.
So that H is Planck's constant.
H is Planck constant, right? Okay, so that was Bohr magneton, natural magnetism. The next small topic is earth magnetism. Noted? Can I change the slide now?
Yes.
See, what is earth magnetism? So I will share this slide with you. No need to write everything. I'll just write the main topics that I'm highlighting. See, what is earth magnetism? So if you take a freely suspended magnet, if you take a magnet, you suspend it from some ceiling or something, and you rotate that magnet, whenever that magnet comes to rest, it always align itself in north-south direction. Means north pole of the magnet is towards the north pole of Earth, and south pole of the magnet is towards the south pole of Earth. So freely suspended magnet always align itself in north-south direction. So why it align itself in north-south direction? This is because of the fact that Earth itself behaves like a magnet. Earth itself have a magnetic field, and that magnetic field attract the north pole of the magnet and the south pole of the magnet. So why Earth have magnetic field? There are various theories. The exact theory is not yet known. The first theory is key in the this was a very old theory that there's a giant magnet, a bar magnet in the core of the Earth. But as you know that core of the Earth is not solid, it's liquid, the liquid state, molten state. So this theory can't be true. These are two prominent theory. One of them should be true. The first theory is that in the core of Earth you have molten lava. Means you have ions of iron and nickel, and those ions are rotating along with the rotation of the Earth. So when ions are rotating, that means charged particles are moving. Due to motion of charged particle, you have current, and that current can generate magnetic field. So I'm repeating it again. In the core of Earth, you have molten lava, which have ions of iron and ions of nickel. Ions are rotating along with the rotation of the Earth. They are evolving in a circular path. Due to their motion, they constitute current, and that current can generate magnetic field. So the magnetic field of Earth can be due to that the motion of charged particle. That's known as dynamo effect. It's known as dynamo. Or there's another theory which says if this is Earth, outside the surface of Earth, some charged particles gets trapped. Along with sun rays, some cosmic rays, some charged particles are coming. Those charged particles gets trapped outside the surface of Earth. So when the Earth is rotating, it seems like these charged particles are in motion with respect to Earth. And due to the relative motion of these charged particles, you can have some magnetic field. These are two prominent theories. This is not acceptable. This was the old, very, very old. These are two theories which are acceptable. One is dynamo effect, and another is this. That magnetic field of Earth can be due to the motion of charged particles. Now, see how the magnetic field of Earth looks like. This is Earth. This is a compass needle freely suspended compass needle. This compass needle align itself in north-south direction. That means the north pole of the compass needle, it's towards the north pole of Earth, and the south pole of the compass needle, it's towards the south pole of Earth. This is geographic north. Geographic north means north pole of Earth. This is magnetic north, means the point towards which the north pole of the compass needle points. Or you can say that this is the north pole of Earth's magnetic field and this is the south pole of Earth's magnetic field. I'm repeating again. We have two types of north. One is geographic north. Another is the north of the Earth's magnetic field. Again, there is two south pole. One is geographic south and another is the south of Earth magnetic field. If you take a magnet, the north pole of Earth's magnetic field will attract the north pole of your magnet, and the south pole of Earth's magnetic field will attract the south pole of your magnet. Is it usual behavior or unusual behavior?
Unusual.
Why?
Because north is attracting north.
Yeah, usually north repel north, south repel south. Here north and south, north is attracting north. So basically what happens is this north of Earth's magnetic field is actually a south pole. It behaves like a south. And this pole that we call south magnetic pole, that is actually a north. We name it south pole because it's close to the geographic south. Otherwise, if you name it north pole, it will become very confusing that near the geographic south pole, you have another north. Just to avoid that confusion, we just write that this is magnetic south pole, but actually it behaves like the north pole of a magnet. So this is the Earth's magnetic field. Now, there are few elements of Earth's magnetic field. And those elements are, there is one axis which is passing through the center of the Earth. This is known as the geographic axis. And there is one axis which is passing through the magnetic north and magnetic south. This is known as the magnetic axis. This is the magnetic axis. These two axes are passing through the center of Earth. They don't coincide. There is an angle of 11.3 degree between them. They are inclined to each other at 11.3 degree. It's not 0.5, it's 11.3 degree. The angle between geographic north and magnetic axis and geographic axis is 11.3 degree now. So this is Earth's magnetic field. Next, we will study some elements of Earth magnetic field. Just like latitude and longitude, we'll study some elements of Earth magnetic field. Is it clear?
Yes.
Do one thing, draw this diagram. We'll need this diagram for the further calculations. Draw this diagram. This is important. If you look at the magnetic field line, say it's starting from the south pole and ending at the north pole. It also shows that this north pole, this magnetic north is actually a south pole. This magnetic south is actually a north. Ahmed, why late?
So I thought of joining the class and then I was like, let's revise. And then I was like,
Sure, okay.
the revision is not happening, so let's join the class.
Okay. So you missed natural magnetism, but Earth magnetism is very fresh thing. Are you getting this thing?
Yes, sir, I have understood this in class as well.
Sure.
Not the equations, but yeah, the diagrams and all, yes.
So this is just in your syllabus. You just have the introduction of Earth magnetism. Earth magnetism. don't have lengthy calculations in your slides. So see, noted.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, what we need is some elements of Earth magnetic field. So first of all, you should remember this thing. Note it down. First thing, the magnetic North Pole is located at this latitude and longitude, and this is the latitude and longitude for the South. So these are the coordinates of the magnetic North and the magnetic South.
So when to write this?
Yes, yes, yes. Note it down. You have to remember this value. Written?
Yes, sir.
No, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is the same thing, like magnetic North Pole actually behaves like the South Pole of a bar magnet. No need to write this. Now, this is the topic from where you get question in your exams. Components of Earth magnetic field. So to describe the magnetic field at a particular point, you need three components. You need three things to define magnetic field at a point. Magnetic declination, horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field, and angle of dip, or you call it as magnetic inclination. It's like latitude to longitude. If I ask you to tell me the position of any point on the surface of Earth, you can just tell me its latitude and longitude. I can reach there. Just like latitude to longitude, if you want completely define magnetic field of Earth at every point, you need these elements. Magnetic declination, you will need horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field and angle of dip. Note it down. Please take notes of these topics. Tell me once you have written.
Yes, sir.
Abdullah, Ahmed, noted? Shahzada,
Yes, sir.
now let's see first what is magnetic declination. See, there are two types of plane. One is magnetic meridian, another is geographic meridian. See, what is magnetic meridian? So this is a freely suspended magnet. You can pass a plane through this freely suspended magnet, the plane which is perpendicular to this freely suspended magnet. That plane is known as magnetic meridian. And you can take one more plane which is perpendicular to this geographic north and geographic south. We call that plane as geographic meridian. So these are the two planes. One is magnetic meridian and geographic meridian. The angle between magnetic meridian and geographic meridian is known as magnetic declination. That's magnetic declination. And this magnetic declination actually shows the error shown by your compass needle. Tell me one thing, where your compass needle will point? It points towards the geographic north or it points towards the magnetic north?
Magnetic north.
It points towards the magnetic north, and magnetic north and geographic north are not at the same point. So there is an error by the north which your compass needle shows and the actual. No, Ahmed. See, this 11.3 degree is when you are taking lines from the center of the earth. But here the planes that you are taking is on the surface of the Earth. These two planes are on the surface of the Earth, so they can have different angles at different locations. That's the difference between the geometry on the plane and the geometry of the sphere. Like in Euclidean geometry, you studied that parallel lines will never meet each other, right, Ahmed?
Yes,
This
sir.
happens, huh? But if you draw two parallel lines on the surface of a sphere, then those two parallel lines will intersect. This is what happened with the longitude. What do you call those circles as? Longitude. You study those things in geography. Longitude, some circles. So there's a difference between the geometry. Euclidean geometry means geometry on a plane surface and the geometry on the surface of a sphere. The first difference is if you take two lines in a plane geometry, then those two lines will never intersect. But if you draw two lines on the surface of a sphere, then these two lines can intersect. So that's why this angle will not always be 11.3 degrees. This angle will vary from position to position. And this will gives you the error shown by your compass needle.
Yes, sir. Clear.
So this is magnetic declination. Huh? Next is this. So this is how you can show it. Like this is your geographic meridian. This one is your magnetic meridian. So geographic meridian is the plane which is passing through the geographic north and south pole. This is the geographic meridian. It's passing through this. Where is it? Yes. This is your geographic north and this is your geographic south. So the plane which is passing through it is geographic meridian. And the plane which is passing through this magnetic north and magnetic south is magnetic meridian. So there is some angle difference between them. This is geographic meridian, magnetic meridian. And the angle between them is what we call declination. This is magnetic declination. That's the first component. Second component. Okay, can you just guess in which plane the total strength of Earth's magnetic field should exist?
So what's the question?
In which plane the total strength of Earth magnetic field should exist? It should exist in geographic meridian or it should exist in magnetic meridian?
Magnetic meridian.
Magnetic meridian. So, Noor, I'm just coming to your question. Huh? So this is the total strength of Earth's magnetic field. This total strength will lie in magnetic meridian. This total strength will make some angle with a horizontal line in magnetic meridian. So I'm taking two lines. This is magnetic meridian, a horizontal line and a vertical line. And this is the total strength of Earth magnetic field. Basically, this is the direction in which your compass needle will point. So the total strength of Earth's magnetic field makes some angle with the horizontal line in magnetic meridian, and we call this as magnetic inclination or angle of it. This is what we called it. Second component. Next, what we can do is, this is total strength of Earth magnetic field. With this horizontal direction, it's making an angle delta. You can take its component along the horizontal, that would be B cos delta. Similarly, you can take the component of B along vertical, that's B sine delta. So this is what we call the horizontal component. And this is what we call the vertical component of Earth's magnetic field. So the horizontal component is B cos delta, vertical component is B sine delta. If you take it, their ratios, BB by BH, B sine delta by B cos delta, it comes out to be tan delta. You can get questions on this also. Next is, at poles, the value of delta, this dip is 90 degree. At equator, the angle is 0 degree. The value is 0 degree at equator. Okay, just draw this diagram and then you will write the definitions. No, magnetic declination is never 11.3 degree. Declination is not the angle between the lines which are passing through the center. Declination is actually the angle between the planes. So that's never 11.3 degree.
Okay, sir.
11.3 degree is the error, the order of error. Draw this diagram. Everything is in this diagram. Whatever you need in earth magnetism in this figure.
So we'll write this magnetic equator also, like this horizontal lines and all.
This one?
Just like we'll write this, what you wrote on the diagram.
Yes, 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 right, everything. This is magnetic pole, this is magnetic equator, right, everything.
So then is delta it equal to 0?
For equator, right?
Okay.
For poles, it's 90 degrees. Yes, written.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Okay, just write these definitions. Huh? Angle of this definition. This is the definition of it. Did you write that magnetic inclination definition of it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we'll do two numericals. One is based on declination, another on inclination and horizontal component. So see, always remember declination is the error that is in your compass needle. Basically, your compass needle never shows geographic north. It always shows magnetic north. So see, the declination at a place is 15 degree west of north. That means if this is the actual north, then your compass needle will not show this north. It will show this north. It's 15 degree west of north. So in which direction should a ship be steered so that it reached at a place due east? So if you want to go towards east, this is the east, this is the geographic east. If you go according to your compass needle, then you will reach over this point. It's not the actual east. So from this magnetic north, north shown by your compass needle, at what angle should you just rotate the steering of your ship so that it reach here is it's 90 and then 15. It's 90 plus 15, which is 115 degree, 105 degree. Is it clear? This is the magnetic north. You want to reach at this point. So you want to rotate your steering at 15 degree and then 90 degree. So 90 plus 15, which is 105 degree. So questions on declination are more on geography than physics. Just note it down. Then we do some on horizontal component inclination. You have revision classes also, Ahmed?
No, sir, I'm not sure.
Not trying. It's noted on.
Yes, sir, done.
Shahzada?
Yes, sir.
See this question next. Next type of questions. The horizontal component of Earth magnetic field is this. Dip is this. You're supposed to calculate the vertical component and total magnetic field. See, delta is 60 degree. Horizontal component is this. So you can use 10 delta is BV by BH. You can get the value of BV. And net magnetic field is sum of these two. They are perpendicular to each other. Should be root over BV square plus BH square. Do it. Write the question and start solving. And this most important question on Earth magnetism is connected to motional EMF. So there is one numerical in which you will use both the concept of motional EMF as well as Earth magnetism. That we will do.
Sir, can you scroll down?
Yes, sir, done.
In Earth magnetism, you will get three types of questions. One is on declination, which is simple geography. Second is on this relation on horizontal and vertical component. Third, the most important question is between the relation between motional EMF and Earth magnetism. Noted down. While writing this question, just try to decide if a plane is moving towards west, then it is intercepting which component of Earth magnetic field. It is perpendicular to which component of Earth magnetic field, horizontal component or the vertical component. Make a rough sketch and try to decide if a plane is going towards west, then it is perpendicular to which component, the horizontal component of Earth magnetic field, or it's perpendicular to the vertical component of Earth magnetic. Yes, Abdullah. If it is going west, then it is perpendicular to which component, horizontal or vertical?
Vertical.
Vertical. See, here this is the plane. It's going towards west. Huh? So it's parallel to the horizontal component because horizontal component is along equator, along east-west. The vertical component is along north-south. So you can get induced EMF, right? It's BLV. So in this expression, BL and V should be mutually perpendicular. So you won't use the horizontal component, we'll be using the vertical component. So that's velocity, this is the length of the conductor, this is, you have delta. So if you have delta, you can get the value of vertical component, you can substitute the value of vertical component here and get the value of EMF. If the plane is flying towards say north, then which component will enter? Then which component will be perpendicular to it?
Horizontal.
Horizontal. So you have to decide which component you will be using, horizontal or vertical, depending upon the direction of motion of the plane. Do this question. This is the most important question on Earth magnetism. Instead of plane, you can get a train also. The same logic, just have to see perpendicular to which component velocity is.
So what is L?
Which one?
L.
L. L is the length of the wings, no? Wingspan.
It's given.
Just 30 meters.
Oh, yes, sir, done.
Written.
Yes, sir.
This is the homework question. You have to draw magnetic field lines for a bar magnet, for a solenoid, for a ring, for a straight wire, and for a horseshoe magnet. That's no one will ask you to draw, but you can have options, like 4 options. You have to pick which field line is for bar magnet, which field line is for a straight line. So that's your homework. This completes your first term syllabus. So you have your exams till Monday. So from Monday, we'll start with the syllabus of second term. And for your Saturday exam, if you have doubts, you can come to the revision classes. Huh? We can discuss your doubts there.
Yes.
So we have that revision class today, tomorrow also. So if you have doubts, you can come to